This week on the Gruppetto, cobbles, flying Dutchmen and women, the 100 Club, a Great Dane, a bit of roglification and remembering the buffalo in Belgium. Plus there's Vuelta to Roubaix and even a trip to Brazil. It's all happening. Sunday marked the beginning of the biggest week of bike racing in Flanders, the Flemish Holy Week. Cycling is the region's real religion, and for the faithful, the headline of the week came courtesy of a rider from over the border in the Netherlands. Lorena Wiebes, the Dutch star, came out on top at the end of a Gent-Wevelgem that stuck to the traditional script. Attacks and moves over the camel were brought back, and a sprint ensued. Wiebes the winner, a victory that saw her join the 100 Club. 100 professional wins at just 26 years of age. A superstar without competition in fast finishes. It's become the norm to honour heroes in Flanders fields, Wiebes deserving all of the adulation she received on the final podium. Leading up to the men's race, Tadej Pogačar was removed from the start list just 5 days before. Now, those disappointed not to see him race around the West Hook would have been more than consoled by the news that the Slovenian superstar is set for a Paris-Roubaix bow in 2 weeks' time. Many other stars were there, and plenty were in trouble as the race hit the Mura and the crosswinds. With a 9-rider break up the road, splits coming back together and then being made again, they approached the first hills, and we were remembering old friends.
And this is the sight I was waiting to see, just at the bottom of your picture there. Richard Moore, the late, great Richard Moore. His name will forever be associated with this race.
The racing would then go on to honour those departed too soon and the thousands lucky enough to be watching on the roadside.
This is an attack from Pedersen on Hill 63. First to react to it, though, you can see right behind him on the wheel is Jasper Philipsen. 11 seconds away from the front of the race now, Pedersen. Now Campenaerts is in a world of trouble. Can't get it. Look at the windmill going round there as Pedersen really puts the revs in. 2 more kilometres tick off, and he's only lost 4 seconds. He started the year chasing cobbles. He's got to them, and he's going to take his first cobble race of the season. At a week out from the most holy of Flemish racing days, he's won here again in Wevelgem. It's 50 up, half a century for Pedersen, and in what style?
Another milestone then, this time 50 up. Pedersen becoming the joint record holder in the race's long history, joining Merckx, Bonen, Sagan, Van Eename, Cipollini and Van Looy, all on 3 wins each. This was also the biggest solo victory in Wevelgem since 1978 in terms of time, and the longest ever. Lidl Trek's star of the moment arriving 49 seconds before Merlier beat Milan to second place. Last week we had a race that shared a name with a posh Italian cocktail drink. This week, one of the main events was a race named after a motorway. Coming 9 days before the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the E3 Saxo Classic, or traditionally the E3 Harelbeke, is a full dress rehearsal for the big one. It's around 60 kilometres shorter, but shares many of the main Tour of Flanders climbs. Wout van Aert pinned on a number again 25 days after his last race, arriving straight from an altitude camp. An early crash conditioned the first half of the race. Van Aert himself, Mathieu van der Poel and others were caught behind it, while a few teams pushed on in front, something that Alpecin de Koning weren't particularly fond of. The Belgian team immediately went to work to chase things down, and once the race was brought impressively under control, a new phase began.
Ganna has moved up now onto the wheel of Josh Tarling, and the way that Turner's riding here looks as though his finish line might be at the bottom of the next hill. The Taaienberg is upon us. Just over 80 kilometres remain, and this is always one of the key points in the race back to Harelbeke. Pedersen now who's going to attack. It's the former world champion, Pedersen, being followed by another man who knows all about the rainbow bands. It's Pedersen and Mathieu van der Poel who've managed to distance the rest on the Taaienberg.
The riders then went to the Oude Quaremont, and it soon looked like the Oude van der Poel. The defending champion turned up the heat on Old Quarter Hill, and in all reality, that was that. A 37-kilometre solo exhibition to add to the 43-kilometre ride alone in 2024. Mathieu van der Poel, 3 one-day races this season and 3 wins. A superb second for Pedersen, with Filippo Ganna taking the final place on the podium before then announcing that he'll ride the Tour of Flanders itself. Now, De Panne used to be the scene of a short midweek stage race prior to the Tour of Flanders, but a date change a few years back also prompted a race change. Now 2 one-day races for both men and women, they've become important appointments for the sprinters. In Wednesday's men's race, however, crash after crash in the finale harmed the chances of several big stars. Once it came down to those who had survived the carnage, Sebas Molano emerged the strongest. He won on Belgian soil for the first time in his career. There was a bit of déjà vu in the air the following morning, as this time the women's peloton lined up in the centre of Bruges. A sprint ensued at the end of it, where Lorena Wiebes took win number 99 of her career, setting up that appointment with the 100 Club that she then brought home at the weekend. 6 wins in 9 days of racing to this point would go on to be 7 from 10 by the end of the week. Absolutely formidable. The Volta Ciclista Catalunya is the oldest race in Spain, predating even the national tour. Despite the stellar start list, there was no Jonas Vingegaard for Visma Lease bike, still recovering from the injuries sustained at Paris-Nice. Simon Yates led the team for GC, but on the opening day, all the talk was of another Briton. Matthew Brennan, just 19 years old, and just days after pulling off a maiden pro victory, he took a World Tour scalp, and in what fashion. Thibaut Del Grosso's heart was broken, and Caden Grove's legs too. Neither Alpecin de Koning rider able to resist. The following day, fellow British representative Ethan Vernon notched up his first European win for over a year. Compatriot Brennan was second, and he kept the leader's jersey. Stage 3 saw the first contact with the mountains, a familiar finish at La Molina after a long stage all the way from up on the outskirts of Barcelona. There was a headwind up La Creueta, one of the longest climbs of the early season. That meant that the peloton took their time to commit too much, with Bruno Armirail attacking his breakaway companions to take a 3-minute lead into the final 40 kilometres. Sepp Kuss, Marc Soler and Lorenzo Fortunato then went on the attack all the way to the final kilometre. But once caught, Juan Ayuso was the antidote to what looked like a probable Roglification, even though the Spaniard required a photo finish. The bunch couldn't hold off Primož Roglic for too long, however. The stunning setting of Montserrat saw Giulio Pellizzari once again work well for his teammate, who showed that his form was on the way to the boil at just the right time. The Slovenian's strength and experience got the better of Ayuso for his first win of the season. Both riders then tied on time, with Rog in the leader's jersey. Stage 5, and it was Matthew Brennan at the double after wind had split the bunch. The wind again would have an effect on what was supposed to be the Queen stage. The mountain at Pradey was removed the night before. Then on the day, strong gusts meant that the finish was moved too. After plenty of discussion and indecision, that is, between riders and organisers. Stage 6 then ended up being a mini-stage. Just 25 minutes of timed racing before the GC times were recorded. Quinn Simmons winning, leaving an unhappy organiser, and safety again the hot topic. We probably haven't heard the last of this one. There was better news all round on the final day on Sunday. Just over a year before the Tour de France comes to town, the Volta Catalunya was decided on Montjuic. After an exchange of bonus seconds, it was as we were going into the final laps, with Ayuso just about in the race lead. But Roglic went on the attack, dropping Ayuso and the rest, taking the stage win and winning the overall in Catalonia for a second time in his career. Rog also took the points and mountains classifications, a clean sweep of the top prizes for a man who at 35 is still at the very highest level. Loads of action then over the past week, and Adam looked through a couple of key moments in the analysis room.
Right, there's no denying it. We've had a hectic couple of days. And if anyone watched De Panne, they'll have seen all the crashes. It's not nice to see, but let's have a look at them anyway. Why not, eh? This was the first crash with around 5 kilometres to go, and it was, well, you can blame the corner, but it was still not an ideal one. This is where we get the zoomed-in aftermath of it. This is one of the crashes where Dainese crashed in. This is the Tudor rider at the front of the screen here. A few Cofidis riders, and this was the next one. And as I mentioned about a couple of Tudor riders, this is the same case because all the teams are in lead-out formation, trying to get together with their teammates. A lot of the riders, including these 2 Cofidis riders, the Lotto riders behind, are all grouped together to make sure they can do the lead-out as best as possible. The only problem with that is if you come down, because as we can see here, this Cofidis rider touches the teammate of his wheel, goes over, and this is pretty much game end from then on in because one goes down and then they all start to tumble behind him, and that is pretty much the full lead out done with. That was with around 3k to go, and this is a final crash. But first, let's look at these 2 little rascals up here. So we've got Christoph here looking for his 100th win of his career. This is his final year this year. Jonathan Milan, the sprinter of the year so far. Christoph has given him a little headbutt already, but watch the retaliation here from the man Milan. A proper headbutt, and this is a final crash. That is setting the tone, really, for what is happening in this race. On the left-hand side, right towards the front, just around here, as you can see, this group of riders here, the little Trek rider, once again touching the wheel at this point, the grip and the handlebars are really flat out, and coming into the last kilometre, one goes down. But what's interesting, the ricochet effect. The road furniture here, there's a big curb that no one wants to hit, but obviously there's only so much room on the road. So once these riders start to come down, it's just a leaning effect across the road. And this is the crash that the European champion, Tim Malia, sadly came down on. The riders here doing about 60k an hour, so absolutely brutal. After that, we come into the finish, and a surprise winner with Milano. So on the front here, we've got one of the Alpecin riders, Milano here on the right-hand side. And this is around, I'm going to say, 470 metres to go, so a long, long way out. The little lull at the front, this is what's left of the peloton, so absolutely nothing. Milano just taking his chance, going for it. You've got Jonathan Milan here, who was eventually second, but just look how far out he went. Took the group by surprise. There was no big reaction. Astana tried to close it down, but just didn't have the legs coming into the finish. Their lead-out start early, but just look at the scramble here behind. This is Jonathan Milan already in the wind. Don't want to start his sprint too early. You've got Groenewegen down here, but everyone just looking for that bit of space, but nobody wanted to take it up. So Milano with clear space. The Uno X rider eventually starts, and Milan just biding his time, but sadly for him, it wasn't soon enough. So by the time he gets sprinting, which is around this marker here, just on the right-hand side when he gets some room, gets clear space, steps on the gas, but is just too little too late, with Milano taking them all by surprise and getting it by half a wheelie. And brilliant victory, and a very fast one compared to Catalunya. Now, this is an exciting stage because we've got Primož Roglic just here and Ayuso here. Ayuso at the minute, the man in form, the young man. And this was about 200 metres to go. On the right-hand side, Roglic starts to go early into a left-hand corner, which is quite tight. This is why he's taking a line. Ayuso fighting to get onto the wheel. But as they come out of this corner here, you saw Mark Soler on the radio screaming at Ayuso. Just look at the head there. So Primož Roglic, just a little look. If you look here, little look over the shoulder, sees him once, doesn't shut the door on him, stays in the saddle. Ayuso gets past him, then Roglic once again out the saddle, but because he's left that door open, has to go all the way around the outside. And by the time he does get alongside him, it's too late. Ayuso claims the stage by, well, and that's Whisker, basically.
So with Adam looking after the analysis, we thought we'd send another of our stars, Matt Stevens, to Flanders to meet Bahrain Victorious.
Right, are you filming this? This is brilliant. I've got my team bike for the ride. I've just been having a chat with Phil Bauhaus. I'm a little bit nervous about the tempo, but no, very wonderful of the team to lend me this rather beautiful Merida Sculptura. This is one of their lighter offerings, and I'll need it if we go up any bergs today. Oh yeah, got my own name on it.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, mate. You all right?
Welcome.
Welcome to it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, you all right? Nice to meet you, mate. Matt, hey. Hi, Vlad. I might try and get in the early move. But, you know, let's have a chat on the road.
Today it might. I reckon after Timeberg is where you want to
Yeah.
Have a go.
Yeah, just straight over the top. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. This is good. We're going for a double espresso, but with a milky hit. So basically, some sort of flat white in the way that only Fred Wright can do. So how many pre-ride coffees would you normally have on a recon day like this, Fred?
Recon day, I'd probably go 1 double and 1 single.
So
then race day, notch it up to 2 doubles.
Oh, Fred, that's not bad, mate.
That's okay.
That's not bad. Do you know what it looks like? It actually it looks like a little dove of peace, as like Picasso did for the United Nations back in the day. Ready to roll. I think my plan is to maybe just sit in the back, just see what the riders are doing, and just observe, really, and try and hold on once they go full gas. Some recon, fastest recon I've ever done. I can see the main group up ahead. You know, the bikes are, everything's faster. The bikes are insane. I'm doing 200 watts on 40k an hour. It's just like, what the? There we go, job done. Proper bit of pace setting into some of the cobbled bergs, where I got a bit detached, and then we stopped for cakes, courtesy of Matej Mohoric. But that was good, although my favourite bit was chasing to get back on, just like in the old days.
Over in Brazil, the mountain bike season is about to start. And here's the man behind the mic, Ric McLaughlin, to tell you all you need to know.
Hi everyone, it's Rick from the UCI Mountain Bike World Series here. I've made it to Uberlandia after about 30-35 hours of travel. It's been getting the bus and head to Arashava. We're going to kick things off at this year's UCI Mountain Bike World Series. First 2 round back-to-back weekends, cross-country short track, cross-country Olympic at one of the best tracks of the year. I'll be back next week. I'll maybe try and corral Ollie Beckinsale to joining me, and we can give you an update on how round 1 went. Don't miss a thing, all the usual channels. See you there.
Let's get amongst it right now. This party is about to get lit. Woo!
Oh, look at the 2-wheel drift.
Full speed, no brakes.
Nothing to lose.
And I am so excited to be here.
Whoa! Wowzers!
Just secured your 4th overall title. Should we hug it out?
Feels like I swallowed a glass full of glass.
And a cheeky wah-ba, wah-ba-ba-ba, and you're away.
Whoa! We'll keep the course preview going. We're going to follow Nino for you.
Troy, this also means you're 2nd in overall.
No way, 2nd! Oh my God! I didn't even think that was possible.
4 in a row for Tom Pidcock.
And we cannot wait to see you trackside.
You go full gas from top to bottom.
Valentina Hall does the double. 2 weekends, 2 titles.
The overall UCI Cross-Country Olympic World Cup title winner. What a year for Alessandra Keller. Masterful in Mont Saint Anne from Alan Hafferley to take the overall title.
It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Looks exciting, doesn't it? And you can watch all of the mountain biking all season long on TNT Sports and Discovery Plus. Now back on the road, it's time to sort your shopping list for the Flemish Holy Week. Beers, chocolate, frites. Got that down? Well, the next thing to note are the appointments for the week. Wednesday is Dwars door Vlaanderen, a final chance for a tune-up before the big one itself, the Ronde van Vlaanderen, next Sunday. Yes, you can watch the men's Tour of Flanders in its entirety, with a breakaway crew to introduce and then review that race, as well as look over the women's race, which follows immediately after. We will return next week. Until then, as always, enjoy the racing. Goodbye.